So once again, hello everyone and welcome to Cooperative Talks 2021, a day to commemorate our identity, resiliency, and sustainability as a cooperator and a cooperative movement. So my name is Icy Inyosa and I will be your host for this afternoon. So just to let everyone know, this program will run until 5 p.m. at most, Philippine time. And before we begin, allow me to thank our co-op partners, fellow co-ops and cooperators, and colleagues and friends who spared their time to join us in this virtual but a historic celebration. And now, to set our virtual event in motion, let us hear first a opening message from our Vice President for Marketing, Ms. Rowena Abella.
Got it.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Icy. So this is an exciting afternoon for all of us. Actually, it's not an afternoon in the UK, no, but we welcome everyone. This is an exciting Thursday for us as we culminate our cooperative month with these co-op talks. And of course, this is sponsored and coordinated by our ever active CIM, no, Clients Institute for Management. So today we are going, as mentioned by IC, we are going to commemorate our identity, our resiliency and sustainability as a cooperative and a movement with a common vision and common objectives binded by our cooperative principles. So our activity for today will be in two parts. The first part will be the discussion on cooperative identity in the 21st century with our esteemed set of panelists. And of course, the second part will be the Cooperative College vision, and there will be a full excitement as we unveil our Client Philippine Corner at the Rochdale Pioneers Museum. So we are very lucky to witness that, although this is a momentous event for us, although it's on virtual, but we will be witnessing the unveiling of our corner in the Rochdale Pioneers Museum in United Kingdom. And of course, we will have a soft launching of Cooperative College of the Philippines. So stay back until 5 o'clock. This activity is until 5 o'clock. So our cooperators, our regulators, our global partners, everybody, I welcome you all. And thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon. Back to you, Ice.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Weng. And yes, it is a very exciting afternoon for us. And you know what? We are so excited to get the ball rolling because we have about 115 participants live via Zoom as of this moment. Before anything else, we are also very honored to have the Chairperson of the Cooperative Development Authority, or CDA, Undersecretary Jospeh Encabo. He was appointed as the chairman of the Cooperative Development Authority by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on April 13, 2021 for a 6-year term. USEC Encabo's flagship programs for the next 6 years are aimed towards strengthening and developing the micro and small cooperatives. The CDA under USEC Encabo's wing advocates to be a listening CDA, offering an equal platform to all cooperatives, regardless of its size and category. USEC Encabo is also spearheading an increased government to government and government to private sector partnerships, as well as more trainings and capacity building measures to forge more opportunities to the entire cooperative sector. Most importantly, USEC Encabo's main vision is to lead a unified and cohesive cooperative movement, shared mission and shared action, a mantra of commitment led by the CDA chairman, forefronts the whole institution to achieve greater heights in unity and mutual support. So without further ado, let us all welcome Undersecretary Joseph Joy Encabo to give his keynote message.
A Magi's Day to everyone. To our esteemed colleagues and members of Climb's Life and General Insurance Cooperative, under the helm of its president and CEO, my good friend, Mr. Noel Raboy. To all the distinguished guests, cooperative leaders, our regional and international partners in the movement, good day to all. The Cooperative Development Authority is deeply honored and extends its warmest expression of gratitude for being invited to take part in this momentous occasion. This gathering is made even more significant as we are about to cap the National Cooperative Month celebration. The call for initiatives and guidance to promote the cooperative identity and the overall cooperative movement is apparent and imperative in our ever-changing times. We are called upon to adapt and adopt to our environment to continue our commitment in nurturing and nourishing our communities into becoming a pinnacle of growth, equity, and socio-economic well-being. My dear colleagues in the cooperative movement, a strong and stable cooperative is defined by its members' faith and trust in it. Their resiliency and hope for its continued existence, and their belief that this cooperative is there for each of them, willing to walk that extra mile with them. We work as one because we know that together we can respond to any and all trials that confront us, and that together we smile and fill our success, fill our hearts with jubilation of all our successes. Our cooperative is our nourishing and nurturing community. Today, this month, we give voice and be witness to this year's theme, our celebration in our country. A stable cooperative, responsive to all challenges, the road to a different tomorrow, hope giver in this new world. By working harmoniously and concurrently with one another, and through Climb's efforts at intensifying the promotion of cooperative movement, we shall achieve an even greater feat of success for the Philippine cooperative sector. Climbs, you have contributed so much in the growth of our country. You are one of the pillars of our movement. It is for this reason that it is with utmost sincerity to address my greetings to all of you. I hope that we, the Cooperative Development Authority, clients, the cooperative leaders, and the entire sector will soar under the banner of collaboration, mutual support, and unity. May we, as one strong unit, never lose the fire, the spirit in bringing growth and development to the cooperative movement. In our language, maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. More power, everyone. God bless us all.
Thank you very much for that very inspiring message, Yusek Joy Encabo. Indeed, when we work as one, we can respond and survive all difficulties, hardships, that whatever may come and will come our way in the future, we will soar under the banner of collaboration and unity. Once again, thank you and mabuhay. Moving on, we are also very honored to have the Regional Director of the International Cooperative Alliance, or the ICA, Mr. Balasubramanian Balu Iyer. He is as mentioned, he is the current Regional Director for the Asia and Pacific. Mr. Iyer was born and educated in India, receiving a degree in civil engineering from the National Institute of Technology at Durgapur and a postgraduate diploma in rural management from the Institute of Rural Management of Anand, India. Mr. Iyer worked in India in cooperative development before moving abroad to work on Asian regional concerns for overseas agencies, and in particular in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, Korea, Mongolia, Nepal, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Sri Lanka. He has worked with the Aga Khan Rural Support Program, Action Aid, India, International Development Exchange, and the Asia Foundation. Let us all welcome Mr. Balu Iyer to give us his special message.
Thank you very much, IC, for that introduction. And Chairman Encabo, nice to see you again. Let me begin by congratulating cooperatives in the Philippines on the occasion of Cooperative Month. It's been a pleasure for me over the past month to take part in events and hear about how the month is being celebrated. It's indeed very heartening to see the gusto with which cooperatives have celebrated this month. I think it's for the first time that Cooperative Month is being celebrated. I'm also delighted that Climbs is organizing Cooperative Talks 2021 with the cooperative identity as the theme, and the identity in the 21st century. And this fits well with the theme of the 33rd World Congress, which is deepening the cooperative identity, which will take place from December 1st to 3rd in Seoul, Korea. And I hope the events and the way in which this month has been celebrated, and in particular this talk, can also be shared with the Congress organizers. They are looking for what cooperatives have been doing, and I'm sure they will welcome a report on how the celebration, looking at the identity, has happened. To me, the statement of cooperative identity, which has the definition, the values, and the principles, is what gives meaning to cooperatives. And it's how we recognize ourselves when we look in the mirror each day. The identity is what distinguishes us from other forms of enterprises, and we need to trumpet this, not just that we are values-based and principles-focused, but more on how these values and principles can be solutions to the issues which we are facing. And there are many: inequality in all its forms, the market model which puts profit ahead of people, the environmental crisis which are being caused by exploitation of resources, and social disruptions caused by the pandemic, cutbacks, natural disasters. So cooperatives offer solutions, and we need to be able to put this across. And for me, as cooperatives, we ought to be leaders rather than followers based on our distinct cooperative identity. And it provides us legitimacy as enterprises in service of people and the common good, rather than just for capital and profit. Our strength is our close proximity to members and in securing members' trust. I think trust is where cooperatives stand apart when compared to other enterprises. And for me, in order to shape the future, we need to present cooperatives as a modern way of doing business that brings them and the larger community common good. We need to focus on members and their needs. We need strong cooperative leaders who can provide the vision, provide space for youth, and build the next cadre of leaders. So we need to look ahead. And in order for the cooperative movement to go ahead, we need to expand collaboration. Principle 6 talks about cooperation among cooperatives. So we need to see how we can collaborate with these different cooperatives and ensure that we are able to put our word across. And so I think I'm very happy that Clients today is organizing this talk, and more importantly, is bringing the Rochdale Museum to the Philippines, and also planning to have a soft launch of their engagement with the Cooperative College. And I think this is very important because we need to put the message out about the positive aspects of cooperatives. We need to increase the awareness of the general public about cooperatives, and we also need to bring in a newer generation into our fold. And I hope clients and its efforts with the CDA will ensure that the cooperative movement in the Philippines is a thriving one. So thank you very much for inviting me to this cooperative talk, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Balu, and it's nice seeing you again on our Co-op Month event. So to proceed, every year, Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative always looks forward to October because it brings us so much joy and excitement to join the annual Cooperative Month celebration. For this year, the Cooperative Development Authority chose the theme Kooperatibang Matatag, Tumutugon sa mga hamon, daan sa pagbangon, nagbibigay pag-asa sa makabagong panahon. For the benefit of our international guests, it is roughly translated as a strong cooperative is responsive to challenges, a road to development, and gives hope in the modern age. Climbs welcomes everyone to this event. And to proceed to our part 1, I would like to pass on the virtual floor to our esteemed moderators for this afternoon. I'll just share my screen. We have Mr. JB Artalipan, our communication specialist, and Ms. Donna Dizon, our VP for Admin and Corporate Planning for Climbs, and our Executive Director for the CIM.
So to proceed, this is Climbs Cooperative Talks 2021, the Cooperative Identity in the 21st Century. The statement on the cooperative identity, promulgated by the International Cooperative Alliance, or the ICA, defines a cooperative as an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. Cooperatives are based on the values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, and solidarity. In the tradition of their founders, cooperative members believe in the ethical values of honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others. Attorney Moreno Cua, the father of the cooperative movement here in the Philippines, once said, "We are not for ourselves, but for others." At the height of his leadership in the cooperative sector, he wanted to impact more lives, which he posited Aside from economic concerns, shouldn't we be interested also in addressing socio-political questions? The source of this uncertainty is the principle of political neutrality, which cooperatives adhere with throughout the world. Could it be that the same principle is also responsible for our being somewhat isolated from the task of building democracy and contributing to social change in our country? In 2020, Dr. Martin Lowry, chair of the ICA Identity Committee, said, "Just as every human being has an identity, a self-identity, cooperative enterprises do as well. Cooperatives are people-driven or member-driven, and as a member, you actually own it and can make a difference in terms of the direction of the business and the services that are provided, because it is an ownership model and people-centric." So, from the minds of two very prominent figures of the cooperative movement, we're presented with an idea of how crucial the cooperative identity is in the 21st century. Now, let us find out if our panelists for this afternoon or early morning, if you are in the UK, hold the same beliefs and expound upon it, or they can present propositions which will revolutionize the cooperative identity. So, to present our panelists, again, bear with me for a while, have first Mr. Neil Calvert, the CEO and principal of UK Cooperative College. Neil joined the college in July 2021 and has brought with him a wealth of experience gained in roles from across the education and charitable sectors. He has been the vice chair of governing council and chair of the remuneration committee at the University of Derby since 2015 and governor since 2010. He was the inaugural chair of the Student Affairs Committee and has led the board's work to develop student voice and representation. During his tenure, the university has broken into the top 30 in national league tables and gained the Gold Award in the first Teaching Excellence Framework. Outside of work, Neil is a keen traveler with a particular love of Nordic countries and also enjoys hill walking in the Peak District and elsewhere in his home country of Derbyshire. I hope I was pronouncing that correctly. He is an enthusiastic amateur cook, a music fan, father, dog owner, and cricket and football lover. Next for our panelists is Dr. Sarah Aldred, the International Programs Manager of UK Cooperative College. Sarah joined the Cooperative College in 2012 as their International Programs Manager. After 4 years working at Cooperatives UK and over 10 years working in the peace movement, doing her PhD research on post-conflict reconstruction, Sarah is now the head of international partnerships at the college. And in collaboration with Cooperatives UK, oversees the rich international relationships we have built over the years, alongside expanding this out into new areas. Out of work, Sarah loves engaging in the arts and plays the ukulele. A little good, I might add. Next is Mr. Ben Telfer, the Vice President of Business Intelligence of the International Cooperative and Mutual Insurance Federation, or the ICMIF. Ben has a bachelor's degree from the University of Manchester in UK. In ICMIF, his focus is on the strategic intelligence and research of emerging trends, best practice strategies and innovations in the global cooperative and mutual insurance sector. He is responsible for the ICMIF Intelligence Committee, a subcommittee of the ICMIF board, which is made up of more than 25 strategic leaders from member organizations and acts as the secretary of the committee. Ben also has responsibility for ICMIF's activities in North America as member engagement lead for the Americas region. Since 2017, Ben has coordinated ICMIF's Young Leaders activities, a recent initiative to help member companies develop their young and emerging talent. He also leads on delivering ICMIF member-only webinars and managing the strategic content for the ICMIF Knowledge Hub. Ben has over 10 years of experience in the financial service industry. Next up is our very own Reverend Father Elmo Manching, the Board of Directors Chairperson of Clients Life and General Insurance Cooperative. He is the Board of Directors also for Metro Ormoc Community Multipurpose Cooperative, or OCCI, as primary cooperative in Clients Life and General Insurance Cooperative as secondary cooperative. He is also a director of the Society Action Commission Archdiocese of Palo and the Cooperative Bank of Cebu. Next up is the Honorable Assistant Secretary Vidal Villanueva III, Head of Credit and Financial Services, Banking, Insurance, and Credit Surety Fund Cooperatives Cluster in the CDA. ASIC Vidal was appointed as Cooperative Development Authority Administrator from the Visayas by His Excellency President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on August 13, 2019. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Commerce degree, major in Management, minor in Economics from the San Isidro College of Business, Malaybalay City, Bukidnon, here in Mindanao, where he was also elected as the President of the Supreme Student Council of the entire school. Before the CDA, he worked at the House of Representatives and held the following positions: Political Affairs Officer, and subsequently appointed as Chief of Staff of Deputy Speaker Pablo P. Garcia of the 2nd District of Cebu during the 14th and 15th Congresses. Supervising Legislative Staff Officer at the Legal Department of the House of Representatives, assigned at the Office of Deputy Speaker Gwendolyn F. Garcia during the 16th and 17th Congresses. He was also the Chief of Staff to Deputy Speaker Pablo John F. Garcia of the 3rd District of Cebu during the 18th Congress. And next up is Mr. Alexander Raquepo, Chairperson of Santa Cruz Credit and Development Cooperative, or SACDECO. Sir Alex holds a bachelor's degree in agriculture and completed his master's degree in management at the University of the Philippines. He also completed a course on development management with the Asian Institute of Management, completed development educator's course of the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions in Thailand, and completed the course on entrepreneurship development and management of the Development Academy of the Philippines. Mr. Raquepo is the current chairperson of Santa Cruz Credit and Development Cooperative, which is a Gawad Pitak Ginuntuang awardee and a billionaire cooperative. He is the chairperson of Ilocos Consolidated Cooperative Bank, vice chairperson of GERC Inc., or Gender Equality Resource Center Incorporated, an election committee member of Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative, a BOT member of Metro South Cooperative Bank, and a foundation and education committee member of Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives. He is also the national president of the Co-op Not Co party list, which won 1 seat last 2019 at the Philippines midterm elections. And next up is Mr. Lloyd Madriaga, who is a Research Development and Marketing Officer from the Oro Integrated Cooperative. Mr. Lloyd has joined one of our youth social action hackathons, wherein he shared many of his ideas, and as we've heard, he has applied it also in their cooperative. And lastly, but of course not the least, our very own Mr. Noel D. Raboy, the President and CEO of Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative. Noel has been the President and CEO of Climbs since 2018. He joined Climbs in 2002, working his way up from administration to Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer in 2010. In between those years, he set up and served as General Manager for Climbs' first wholly owned agency subsidiary, CLIFSA, and was then appointed as President and COO of Climbs' Pre-Need Company, CCLPI. He is a passionate sociologist, a cooperative and microinsurance development advocate who shares his expertise in different capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you, JBR. And I think everybody has already had a grasp of the knowledge and expertise and also the experience of our panelists that we have invited for today. So we're hoping that some of them can still catch up and join. We have invited also some youth leaders as well to join us in the panel. So let's move on. We hope to make this as very conversational as possible. So I'll be throwing in some discussion points, questions to our panelists, and they will be answering as I call them. And I hope that for the rest of us, you can take down notes. Pwede po jot down your notes, and baka may mga kayo ideas and anything that you can comment on, just write in the chat box and we will take it up. We hope to answer, if there are questions, we hope to answer them, but within interest of time, if we are unable to do so, please bear with us, and our team can also respond on the chat box. We can continue the talks in the chat box as well. Okay, so first, I'd like to ask our panelists, what does the cooperative identity mean to you? So maybe I'd like to ask Sarah first, and this will be the question for everybody in the panel. So, and then Sarah, you can call somebody from after you speak. Just briefly, what does cooperative identity mean to you?
Thank you, Donna. And first of all, I just want to say it's an absolute privilege to be here today. And you know, Climbs is, you know, a key partner and a sister for us. So just welcome. I think for me, when I was thinking about this question, really, it's around, for me, cooperative identity is all around diversity. You know, the cooperative movement is a really diverse movement, you know, so for example, you've got the insurance, but you've also got, you know, the agricultural co-ops, you've got the retail co-ops, you've got electric co-ops, and also different forms of cooperatives, from the worker co-ops to the big kind of retail co-ops. So there again, it's diversity, but in the UK as well, it's a diversity of support, you know, so I know in the UK we support, you know, all kinds of social justice issues around, you know, last year we were really involved with, you know, the Black Lives Matter around racial justice. We've been very involved with the LGBT community in the UK, you know, supporting and making sure people feel included. So for me, cooperative identity is all around diversity, and it's also part of my identity. I'm very proud to say that I've worked for the cooperative movement. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Sarah. Maybe we'll hear from Ben. It's different, cooperatives, mutuals. So what's your take on it, Ben?
Thank you, Donna, and thank you for the invitation to participate today, and to Noel as well. And on behalf of ICMIF and our membership of mutual and cooperative insurers and member-owned insurers, this is a great question, and I think we've already touched on today some of the values of being a cooperative and some of the cooperative principles. But the thing that really stands out for me is the idea of the cooperative difference and how the cooperative business model provides a commercial advantage. And I think one of the main aspects of that is how the interests are aligned. So there's no external shareholders. It's not about maximizing profits. It's about creating long-term value for all stakeholders. And this is something that we see a lot in our membership. These are purpose-driven and values-led businesses, and they create a value statement and a value proposition that is creating value for not just shareholders, but also for the local communities and society at large. And this enables them to have more of an impact in the community. So the way I think of the cooperative identity is really a business and a competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's good, Ben. So we move back to our back home. Father Elmo, our chairperson. Father, what can you say about cooperative identity? Anything you can share? What does it mean to you?
Probably, good afternoon, everyone. Probably my bias is my priesthood, because I would like to understand the reality of the cooperative movement, the cooperative identity, from the perspective of our Lord Jesus. For me, Jesus was the first one who initiated cooperative movement, because he did not do it solo when he started his ministry. He has to convoke people to join him. And I would like the terminology now used by our church fathers, the synodality, actually is just a rehash or a recast of what you call cooperativism in the past. Like involving people, giving them a time to speak, to contribute to what they have felt or believed in, is for me is a value that we treasure in the cooperative movement. It's part of our identity as cooperators. And for me, these are very lucent ideas that was long ago already purported by Jesus. And so I would like to consider cooperative identity as, for me, close to my heart, because for me, cooperative is my vocation within my vocation to the priesthood. So it's a special calling to be a minister in this context.
Thanks, Father Elmo. Very noble indeed. Cannot refute that. And how about you, Sir Alex? What's your take on this, if we speak about cooperative identity?
Yeah, thank you, Donna. You know, when we speak of coop identity, we speak of a brand. It's just like, just like a soft drinks. When you talk about soft drinks, first thing that comes to mind is Coca-Cola. It's like that. Now, when you talk about co-ops, the first thing that comes to mind is solidarity. The first thing that comes to mind is unity. And the first thing that comes to mind is the conglomeration of small resources coming from poor people, small business folks. So it's something like a brand. When you say co-op, it's equivalent to like this. So if it becomes a worldwide brand, then wherever you go, maybe after this pandemic, we go to UK. And when we talk about co-op, immediately they know who we are. They know what we espouse, and they know what we advocate. So it's basically a brand. And brand must be, must be indicated by a certain logo, a certain picture, a certain drawing that everybody must adhere to. So basically, yun lang ang akin. It's basically a brand. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Alex, maybe we move also to what user Noel.
Good.
Chair.
Really a big question when you talk about cooperative identity. But for me, it's like a movement that when we hear about cooperative, we already in our mind how we can help. We have the same goals, common goal and aspiration on what to do to help the movement to move. Just like in the insurance that we pull together all our resources in order to help those who are in need. So, and then let's grow together so that we can finish we can go to the finish line together, not just competition. So when I hear about when I joined in cooperative way back in my college days, the first thing in my mind is this is for the common good and a movement that everybody understand what is cooperative.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, sir. Maybe we can also hear something from one of our youth representatives here who also joined us. We invited somebody from Tagum Cooperative. I know that she's the chairperson of the cooperative Youth Coop Lab in Tagum Cooperative, one of the biggest owners of member owner of Climb. So Miss Shine Miranda, can you say something, Shine? Mayong adlaw. What is cooperative identity as a youth, as a young leader?
Good afternoon to everyone, and good morning to some people who are in this gathering. For me, cooperative identity, because I think I have the least experience among the panelists who are invited this afternoon. So for me, the cooperative identity is union of persons who voluntarily joined an autonomous or an independent association of people. Since it is an open and voluntary membership, it is open to all persons who are able to use their services and products, just like in our cooperative, Tagum Cooperative. We youth members are also given the privilege to use these products. That's why I'm also here attending this gathering this afternoon. As a member of the cooperative, as a youth leader and youth member, I am willing to accept the responsibilities as a member, and I believe that a cooperative is an association without gender, social, and religious discrimination. That's why it is an open and voluntary membership.
Thanks, Shine. What a nice name as well. So let's continue to shine in the movement. So I like to move this discussion to some questions that are close to our hearts right now. It's a global issue. well, what do you think? Do you think the cooperative identity can help us solve some of the global issues, such as the COVID-19 pandemic? So I like to throw this question first to Neil.
Thank you, Donna. And can I just echo the thanks of my colleague Sarah for inviting us to this event today, which we're delighted to be part of. Yeah, I mean, this is a great question, and you've picked COVID-19 as the one of the challenges, and I guess I'd add another one in there, which is climate change and the environmental impact of climate change. And the interesting thing is that these are challenges that have always cropped up. There have always been pandemics, and there always will. And if we look far enough back, there's always been climate change. And the difference is us. And the difference is that humans are driving the speed of these things. Humans are making them more difficult. And the challenge for society with these challenges is to limit the human and environmental costs. And if we come back to the pandemic, certainly from our perspective in the UK and from my own personal perspective, there have been some heroes of the pandemic, and there have been some instances where it's really brought out the best in some people. And, you know, we've had headlines which I know have gone around the world about, you know, a 23-year-old footballer who's changed political policy in the UK in order to help to alleviate some of the challenges of the pandemic. But also neighborhood heroes, people that don't get mentioned and don't get thought about, but have saved lives and saved communities. So it has brought out the best, but it's also brought out the worst as well. And, you know, if we look at the human cost of the pandemic, we look at inequality just being driven even further by this challenge. We look at the impact of greed, and also in some parts of the world, opportunities being taken, for anti-democratic legislation. Really has brought out the worst in humanity. And I guess for me, the co-op identity is something that stands against all these things. And for those people who are already cooperators, it's a constant in an unstable world. And for those who aren't, well, one of the biggest challenges of the pandemic's been isolation for younger people, going through a phase in their life when normally they would be mixing socially. For older people, you know, who've been isolated in ways that perhaps they weren't expecting. And the idea of uniting voluntarily to meet common aims, you know, has got to be an exciting one for those people. And on a more practical level, I think we have to recognize that whether it's COVID-19 or whether it's climate change, the world will not be the same afterwards. And as a result, there will be people whose lives and whose livelihoods have completely changed. And of course, what the co-op movement and within that the identity does is provide a new opportunity for people, to change their lives, to join with like-minded people, again, to unite voluntarily. So I think we always say that there are more challenges now than there have ever been. I think in 2021, that's probably true. But I do think there's never been a time when the co-op movement, you know, and the importance of the identity have had so much potential.
Oh, that's very nice, Neil. You mentioned about these issues that really brought up the best and the worst, right? Like, for example, when you mentioned about isolation in pandemic, so it's difficult to cooperate and collaborate in isolation. So I move this back question to the Philippines, so close to home. How about you, Sir Alex? What do you think? Because you've been working also with the legislative body. So what can you say about addressing the cooperative identity, addressing the global issues that we're facing today, especially the pandemic? You're on mute, sir. Can you please unmute?
Thank you, Donna. Actually, dito sa Pilipinas, problema natin dito sa Pilipinas, our problem here in the Philippines is it's so hard to instill discipline sometimes. I'm sorry to say that. But if there is a legislation saying that everybody should do this and everybody should do that, I think people will follow. And I think legislation plays an important role in really making cooperatives more resilient and more disciplined in this time. Actually, in the Philippines, our resiliency has been tested by this pandemic. And I cannot imagine how small the biggest cooperatives in the Philippines were able to render services to our less fortunate brothers and sisters in poor communities, despite the pandemic. We must realize, and I think everybody agrees, my fellow Filipinos, that the pandemic has certainly robbed, quote unquote, robbed us of many opportunities and things. The only way to overcome this is to be more unified, maybe add or put our resources together and be united in acting more and pursuing more opportunities that this COVID-19 have put to our attention. Insurance, for instance, has become an important asset of life. It cannot be denied. For you to be financially inclusive, you must have an insurance. And I think our clients' family plays an important role, especially this pandemic. Especially those who have not been financially inclusive. I think they should be included right now. And the first thing that we can do for them is to insure them so that they will be, part of the mainstream in our financial society. Again, I believe that we still play an important role because commercial bank cannot reach the remotest area in the Philippines. Only cooperatives can do that. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks, Sir Alex. That's really the very practical thing that we can do right now to address it. And you have mentioned social protection through insurance. So we're grateful for that you pointed that out as well. And we move on to the next question. So we talked about the cooperative identity, and now we're talking of moving to the cooperative values. So as we know, it is COPS is based on the values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, and solidarity. I'd like to throw this question to our ever-energetic leader in the CDA, our regulator, Assistant Secretary Vidal Villanueva III. Sir, are you there already? I saw you earlier. But the question is, why are the cooperative values so important? Asset Vidal, if you're there. Okay, while we wait for Asset Vidal, maybe Sir Noel can answer it first.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. When you talk about cooperative values, this is this distinction of how different we are as in a corporation, where in the corporation you are more inclined on the profits, but here in the cooperative is you are inclined on the profits for the people, how you uplift the economic, cultural, and social aspect of our members, how we carry them. Sad to say that in the Philippines right now, we want to be recognized in the government on how our efforts in a cooperative movement in part of the nation building. But I will throw this one. I know this is very critical situations that I think co-ops must embrace, that as a unique organization embodied with values and principles, this is the direction on our goals, on what we're going to do to go. An example in the pandemic, if we focus only on financial, but they're setting up cooperatives from the word voluntarism is something that is missing already. We are more inclined on how much dividend, how much patronage that we earn in a year. But how we help those people who are there long before, why they join the cooperative movement? Because they want something lower, they want something unique which they owned, wholly owned. And then self-help, self-responsibility. So when we dismember those cooperatives that cannot anymore pay their loans, those members who are at the time they are in the hit by economic crisis, this is the moment that maybe the cooperatives will carry them, go with them, The example for that is, again, the situation on how we audit, social audit, no? What is now the situation of our old members? I mean to say that those who are with us for so long. Because in the cooperative, sometimes we look only how many members that we are, the member in good standing, but how about those who are not in good standing? What is now, how relevant we are to them? And I think that we'll now go to the why co-op values and principles is important. Another aspect also is, since we are too inclined on business, I think cooperative this will become a secondary. For me, that is secondary. The primary is, I'm putting there my resources because I want to help others. I'm putting the resources, I want to patronize products and services. At the same time, I can avail privileges which I cannot avail in a private company. And for that also is you give that to the community. And I'm happy that the CDA is very active on their circular on Community Development Fund right now. The Community Development Fund give us the mandate that it should not be used only in our members, but you put that in the community so that the government will recognize us. In fact, I'm willing that cooperative in the Philippines should look forward on taxation, how we can help government on recovering pandemic. And I think this is the time that discussions on taxations, maybe not as equal taxations in the private, but preferential taxation for the cooperative, so that the government will not tell us, or we will not be claiming why we are set aside, but we are part of the nation building. 14,000 cooperatives with 100,000 membership, 100,000 million membership, and I think that's too much already if we unite together accordingly to what we aspire as a cooperative based on values and principle.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point, sir. Yeah, it's something that, you know, when this Justin had knowledge about the values and principles, but it's different when really it's put into action, and discussing some of these difficult conversations to people who really also interested to know more about this, about taxation and about equality, solidarity. So these are good avenues for other talks perhaps in the future. And on that question, I will bring it back to our Assistant Secretary here. We're so grateful, Asek Vidal, for your presence. I know you're a very busy man. And sir, I asked earlier I asked Sir Noel, and he had a very good explanation and living out our cooperative values. So, sir, what do you think in the part of CDA, can we promote to our members? How do we promote the cooperative values to our members? Na hindi lang po siya, it's not like it's just a regular requirement when they have a membership, they want to avail loans and other services of the co-op, but really the cooperative values, how do we really bring them to the community at the grassroots level? Yes, Asek.
There's something wrong with my sound. I cannot hear. Hello?
Yes, Asek Vidal. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Clear po. Clear po kayo.
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Nayabag man akong kuwan.
Sir, can you hear me? Can you hear me for the rest? Am I clear?
No problem. We can hear you, Ma'am Donna.
Yes. So, Asek, maybe we can go back to you later. No? So, I'll just leave that question, and we can go back to Asek Vidal later. So, sorry for those technical issues. So, we move to the next. So we say that it's the movement is an international movement that aims to encourage people to produce, buy, and sell things together. As what Ben said earlier, sharing profits for the people in the Philippines in the form of dividends shared with our members. So the movement started in Northern England in the 19th century. So it was just a poor working people, no? But
Can
they
hear
could,
you.
they could buy food, clothes, and other things for less than a person could. How can cooperatives evolve to meet the needs of the cooperative movement? So, Ben, would you like to say something about this?
Sure, thank you, Donna. Yeah, so that's it's interesting you picked up on that point of the idea of profits for the people, because this comes from one of the CEOs of one of our one of the largest financial cooperatives in Canada. And he came into this to the role of being CEO and president a few years ago, and he found in Canada the perception of cooperative is that it's not for profit, and he felt that was wrong, because profit isn't a bad word. It's what you do with the profit is the most important thing, and he actually felt that running a profitable business is so important to running a sustainable and financially stable business. So again, he didn't like that, and he changed it, because so before the idea was that it was people before profits, and he changed that to being profits for the people, and that a cooperative should operate with a sense of purpose rather than for a sense of charity. And I think this is something that's very important for cooperators all around the world, is how do you balance that need to run a financially stable business with also the needs of members and communities. And you mentioned a very good point there about how cooperatives need to evolve to meet the needs. And the pandemic has done a lot of things, and of that, it's sped up a lot of changes in the world and a lot of trends. There's new customer behaviors, new customer preferences, new digital trends, and even how people want to work. So I think what it's important for cooperatives to do is to transform their business model. And how do they preserve the historical roots and their identity, and how do they leverage that in a way that they can communicate the benefits of what it means to be a part of a cooperative, the idea of having a social purpose, and how do they stay relevant for today's customers. And I know later we're going to touch on how they become relevant for tomorrow's customers and tomorrow's leaders, but they are some of the things that sort of came out when you sort of posed that question.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So I think this is also, I want to also ask Sarah on this line, because we have been talking about prevalent issues, but Sarah, because of also of your background, how do cooperative identity, how can we link it to peace, equality, and reconciliation?
Oh, thanks, Donna. Yeah, I mean, you know, for me and the Cooperative College as well, you know, I think, you know, the cooperative identity is very much a philosophy, you know, so it's something that we kind of try and imbue and live and breathe. And I know, you know, the history, so Liz McIvy can talk about this at length, but the history of the cooperative movement in the UK has been rooted in the peace movement. So, and that's why we always talk about it as some kind of like, it's a social movement as well. So yes, it's a brand and it's a business, but it's also, you know, it's a movement that people have heart and compassion with. So for example, you know, the Cooperative Women's Guild, which was founded in 1889, you know, they were formed to fight for women's suffrage. You know, also the Cooperative Women's Guild, you know, in 1933, you know, they kind of were instrumental in forming the White Poppy, you know, which was to support conscious objection. So there's a real history, you know, in the cooperative movement around fighting for social justice and for social change. Myself, you know, my own background is in kind of conflict resolution, conflict transformation, and cooperatives again are at the heart of that. You know, so you've got, you know, for example, in Rwanda, you know, post the genocide, you had a number of, you know, women's cooperatives that were formed, which were from both communities, from Hutus and Tutsis, that were formed around livelihood. You know, they didn't talk about their identity of being Hutus and Tutsis, but they talked about we need a livelihood, and how are we going to work together to feed our family, to feed ourselves. And the cooperative model, you know, through that implicit, you know, through the implicit nature of being a cooperative, they actually formed relationships, that became friends, and they understood the other. So there again, it's implicit peace building by the cooperative model, and the business form allows people to understand who the other is, because they're focused on improving livelihoods. And I just want to make a nod as well to, I sent JBR a PDF document to a fantastic report, that the ICA did in 2019, which the college had the privilege of being part of pulling together, which was on cooperatives and peace, which is strengthening democracy, participation and trust. And I just really recommend people to just dip into that, because there's fantastic case studies around the world. So for example, we've got case studies from Guatemala, El Salvador, Palestine, Brazil, Uganda, Rwanda, Bosnia, just all really good examples of how cooperatives have responded to needs in those communities. And just by the nature of the cooperative structure and the cooperative business, as Ben said, it's making profit is a good thing. It's what you do with that profit and how you empower communities. So I'd really recommend people to take a look at that report, because there again, it was a fantastic report that the ICA produced.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. That's a good perspective, and also we'll take a look at that report. And I hope Asek Vidal can hear me now. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Ma'am Don.
Sir, so we left up with that question earlier that
Yes.
How can we promote cooperative values to our members? So do you think that our co-ops right now, Asek Vidal, are lacking in that promotion of the values to our members? How can we support that, you, CDA, as our regulator as well?
Yeah, thank you for that, Ma'am Donna. With the current, the recently signed law, Republic Act 11364, that clusterized the cooperatives into 6 clusters. Now, with this new law, the establishment of the education and advocacy cluster is given priority by this law. With that, the education and training have to be a regular program already of all cooperatives. And there will be restoration of cooperative values among co-ops. And I think that this new law will do something that will educate not only our co-op members, but even those non-members of the co-op. So with this focus now, we can promote the values of cooperativism, not just to the co-op members, but as well as to the communities where our cooperatives are operating.
Yeah. Thank you, Asek. So it's really good that we have some institutional mandates that we can also provide to our members and also advise them. It's sometimes we lack in communicating all of this to our members. So I think that's a good call for all of us here, our cooperators as well, to look into that. And if there are changes, you can always ask. We know even at the regional levels, the CDA has been very supportive and also very responsive sa mga questions namin sa co-ops po. So
if you can see, Ma'am Donna, and for the rest of our partners here, the Cooperative Development Authority is now very, very busy campaigning all over the country to strengthen the cooperative movement. So we are not merely focusing on the members, but even to those non-members. So eventually, as mentioned by Sir Noel a while back, time will come once all these electric cooperatives will be registered with the Cooperative Development Authority, we will be a cooperative nation, because with the inclusion of these electric co-ops to CDA, our total numbers of cooperative members all over the country will be estimated to 75 million people.
Wow. That's the numbers speak for itself, and we're also having our own targets as well. We call it Beyond Numbers, our battle cry, which I hope Sir Noel will also mention later. So thank you so much for that, Asek Vidal. So now we move ahead. What are the practicable steps that we have to do for the future? So I'd like to hear the voices from our young leaders here. So Lloyd Madriaga from OIC is here, and I think Shine is also here. And you can answer any of these questions. This is 2-part question, but where you're most comfortable answering it, please do. So what needs to be done to pave the way for the future of the cooperative movement? And how will the co-op movement build a sustainable community? And what can you as the next generation do to bring the cooperative movement forward onto the future? So we're talking about sustainability and also what's the next generation's contribution in moving forward the cooperative movement towards the future. Would like to start, maybe Lloyd, you can share something, Lloyd. We're happy that you're here, Lloyd. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am here, ma'am. Thank you
Yes.
so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
For me, as a young leader of the cooperative, I believe that one of the few things that we can do to pave the way in terms of bridging the cooperative to the young generation is through giving a social development program that will entice them to take part of this kind of program, because I truly believe that if we are able to engage with them with this kind of activities, we will be able to engage with them and of course entice them to be part of the cooperative movement. And being a young cooperative leader here in the Philippines, in Cagayan de Oro City, that's something that I really am happy to be part of, because you are not just only taking a good community impact to a specific place, but also you are giving education with regards to the cooperative movement, Ma'am Don.
Yeah, thank you, Lloyd. Thanks for that. I know that you have been very active with leading the youth and also the marketing efforts. And maybe we can also hear from Shine, if Shine is still around.
Yes, but I'm still here.
Shine, yeah. Yes, Shine.
Answering the question, what can the next generation do to bring the cooperative movement forward into the future? We as the young cooperators during this day, we are already considered as the next generation or the susunod na generation for the cooperative, to handle the cooperative. Knowing that we are currently in this digital age and technology, we must use this as a way to connect with others, other youth members, especially in our cooperatives, in our respective cooperatives, to impart the knowledge that we have already gathered, that was taught to us by the cooperative, especially to us. I can definitely attest the impact of the Tagum Cooperative to me as a youth leader, because I was already engaged in cooperative since I was in second grade. So through the years, I was engaged in youth seminars, which tackles financial literacy, and a lot more. We're also engaged in different social activities. We are introduced to sustainable development goals, which I can relate to the current situation we are in right now, how important it is to talk about, say, in a young age. It is important to start as young as we are right now, because we are the next generation, and this is what we can do to sustain the legacy of our cooperative right now. It is important for me. I want to impart that youth education, especially financial literacy, is very important, because it is not cooperatives are not just about businesses. It is also teaching us to be self-employed, because the cooperative influenced myself to engage in self-employment, which I already started this pandemic, and made me financially, not fully financially independent, but at least I can sustain my needs, my wants, not to my parents, but also already relying to my earnings as a leader, as a student also. So that's why it is very important to teach the young ones how important it is.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Shine. That's very inspiring. From 9th grade, so I suppose you were just 8 or 9 years old at that time. And
Yes, po.
you're of the cooperative. That's very inspiring, and now you're still a member. What a testimony! That's you're a living testament of cooperative really works, and there's really hope for the future. On that, maybe Neil, can you share? We have discussed a while ago about the issues that global issues that had been addressed because of the cooperative movement. So are we correct in saying 21st century and beyond that the cooperative movement is really the model that has as an engine for sustainability?
Yeah, I think to come sort of back first to your question about young people and what they can do in the next generation, I think we have to recognize young people need to do what they've always done, which is to disrupt, which is to challenge received wisdom, it's to deconstruct, and it's to reinvent. And, you know, let's be honest, the global diverse cooperative movement that we're all part of now shares nothing really in common with the group of 20 or so elderly working class white men who formed it right back 100 and however many years ago it was. You know, we've changed out of all recognition, and we have to recognize that when a certain period of time has elapsed again, the movement will have changed again and won't look like it does today. What will be at the core of it still is the values and principles. And, you know, we do need to allow that generation the space, but also, as with when anything's being built, we need to provide some scaffolding. And the scaffolding is to keep everybody safe and to make sure the building goes up correctly. And, you know, in this case, it's first of all giving young people a voice. And it may seem like it's easier than ever to have a voice nowadays in the era of social media, but it's also even easier to be drowned out than ever before. So we have a responsibility, I think, to give that voice. We also have a responsibility to ensure that, you know, those principles and values are something that we do provide as that scaffolding to allow young people to take what we've got at the moment and disrupt it and challenge it and change it and turn it into something which is going to be suitable for the problems of tomorrow, which are those ones of sustainability, you know, and all those kinds of challenges. So I think, you know, the challenge isn't for the young people, they'll do what they've always done. The challenge is for us to give them the space and the opportunities to do what it is that needs to be done.
Yeah, that's right. So we are in the age of disruption, but actually the idea of disruption is not really modern. So young people who are the ages and even younger, they're the ones who formed the first cooperative movement back in the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. So they're young. And just to see Lloyd and Shine also here representing the voices of the youth is also very inspiring and encouraging for us. So maybe we can know more about it. What shall we do right now? So maybe Sarah, can you share what needs to be done? Why do you think young people should join cooperatives? Sarah, why do you think young people should join cooperatives?
Because yeah, sorry, it's just to reiterate what Neil was saying there. Really, it's because, you know, cooperatives are vehicles for change and are vehicles for kind of, you know, livelihoods. And I think young people, you know, there's, you know, I just want to make a nod to the youth research report that came out to the ICA, so which I know JBR's put a link to. But some of the main challenges really in the global south, particularly, you know, with young people is high unemployment. So what cooperatives can do is actually offer secure employment. So there's a lot of informal workers in the Global South and also across the world. There's a lot of young people who are not in secure employment. So they've got, I know in the UK, you know, there's kind of just like, you know, insecure contracts, and cooperatives offer security. They offer security to kind of just allow young people to thrive. And some I just want to potentially, some of the key recommendations that came out of the youth research reports were, yes, you know, cooperatives can be great vehicles, particularly for young women who are, you know, especially there again in the Global South, because that's what I know the most, is, you know, young women, you know, they don't have access to the education they need. So actually what cooperatives can do can also give them access to education as well. So, but the key recommendations that came out of that youth report, which is there again, it was a global research project, you know, it interviewed across 20 countries, you know, and it was 50 young people participated in it. But the key recommendations were the obligation that cooperatives have to young people to draw them in is they need to improve the knowledge. So we need to use education, you know, so have a better education and better knowledge building within co-ops to shout about why co-ops are great tools for kind of employability. Boost the image of cooperatives. You know, there's a really diverse perception across the world about what co-ops are. You know, so I know in Africa, you know, the young people perceive them negatively to see the structures of the state, whereas across Latin America, they're seen as these really radical engines for social change and political disruption. You know, so it's having a uniformed, inclusive perception of how co-ops can actually be really appealing to young people. There again, it was like building cultures of what does it actually mean to be a cooperator, and actually widening out not just to the cooperative sector, but also the social economy, which can also be wider than the cooperative movement, to say we're a bigger family than this, and what's at the heart of that is the values. And there again, it's just something that we always bang on about at the colleges, partnerships. You know, the cooperative movement has a responsibility to work in partnership with other youth organisations or other organisations that are actually inclusive of, you know, a whole diverse range of things that young people are actually interested in as well. So I know I've rambled on a bit there, but I just wanted to do a plug to the research report and just say, you know, the cooperative movement has a lot to offer to young people, but they need to kind of just really think about it and re-engage with young people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah, because there's a lot of information. You have a lot of studies and researches being done, but this has not been heard or maybe just not circulated much. So I hope this is a good avenue. We will also help you in spreading. You have shared on the chat box and contact all the young leaders here in Climes. And how about you, Sir Noel? Can you add something with what Sarah shared?
I think Sarah.
Encourage you.
Okay, thank you. Sarah mentioned about education, and I think that is what we are doing with clients right now. In fact, if all federations, we will inline our curriculum or services towards attracting young people to join the cooperative. But we have to review also how we recruit our members down to the primaries. In way back in the early 80s, I think it needs a lot of time so that they can be they will learn around a week to become a cooperative members. And having it now is more into competition than become a membership. So it's quantity versus the quality. So if we have a standardization of the institutions, like what we are doing now, a soft launching of our cooperative college, we have here our regulator, ASEC Vidal, no? Since CDA is not yet under on the registrations of this KED, so we register first with the SEC. But the direction really of this cooperative college is to institutionalize the young people so that the cooperatives using their programs, no, through CTF or through Community Development Fund, looking the concept also of the Roche, the Cooperative College of UK and other cooperative college in the world. Maybe there's so much thing that we can do to attract young people. And focus also on why cooperatives than on the financial, because when attracting in the future, this might be the leaders that will harmonize on the principle of cooperation among co-ops doing businesses that will have enough impact. An example for that is the pandemic teaches us the individualism of the primary cooperatives or secondary cooperatives towards their members. But why we not join together? Like if we have in the future, like what did in the UK, that the cooperative is the one owning a manufacturing. If we can do that in the future, that we owned a manufacturing owned by the cooperative members, cooperative co-ops in the Philippines, that's so much thing that we can do. And then we say, this is the cooperative that we want. It's owned by the people, owned by the cooperative members.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thanks for that. Cooperative that's owned by the people, that's the essence of the co-ops. And I know that Sir Alex also is very keen on developing the young people in their own primary cooperative. Can you also share, sir? What's
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. Actually, let me start by agreeing with Noel when he talked about, and also Sarah talked about education. I think should get rid some of their time from their gadgets and educate them about cooperatives. Ito nga ang maganda rito. It should not be us involving them. Why should we involve them? It should not be like that. They should involve themselves. It becomes voluntary. It is not being forced. It's not being assured by the older ones. They voluntarily come, so that becomes their it becomes their advocacy. As the saying goes, let's start them young, because we had no opportunity when we were young to be like them, to be in their shoes right now. Let's start them young, and they will be responsible to the next generations to come, because we are no longer responsible to the generations after them. Cooperative, I knew, is the best way. My whole family, I have 3 sons. Even before reaching the age of 1, they were already associate member of my primary co-op through deposits, until we organize a laboratory co-op in our area, in our municipality. Now, the laboratory co-op is now managed by these young individuals, by this youth. They have a set of board of directors where they govern it themselves. They have a CEO. They have some marketing officers really sell. Their number one product is savings generation. Savings generation. And never thought that their number will now become around 30 to 35,000. With an asset of more than 130 million pesos. So I think that's something that these young kids have achieved unknowingly. And I think if all co-ops in the land have this kind of system, or have this kind, or adopt this kind, I think it's going to be a bright future for the next generation. Of course, notwithstanding and not avoiding or not excluding a social insurance, or what we call, they are being secured in their future too, because that is an important facet. Pero nga kami yung mga insurance program natin through Climbs are also being introduced by them. They market it to their mothers and fathers. So yun, Donna, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sir Alex. So wow, that's also very inspiring to learn about her also fighting. Like what Fat mentioned earlier, that's really a good form of stewardship also in the finances, even with these young people that we have in the co-ops. So on that thought, just last, anything that you can share, Ben, you can add, because you're heading the Young Leaders Program in ICMIF, and then we move on to the last question. I will ask Father Elmo later after you talk.
Of course, Donna, just a couple of sort of thoughts that have popped up listening to Lloyd and Shine as young leaders, and then everybody else speak about it. And I think one of the most important things for today's current leaders is that's to empower the next generation, empower young leaders. And that's not just only for their own personal and professional development, but they bring a new thinking to how things operate, a diverse thinking. Neil touched on it before, disruption. Everyone's talking about disruption at the moment. You've got this generation here that can help with that, with this new thinking. Usually they'll have a better understanding of some of these new digital and technology trends, so a better understanding of social issues. So I know this is something Climbs do very well yourself, with a diverse leadership. Encourage any other cooperative to do the same. And then the second point is just the idea of perception, and how the idea of being a member of a cooperative or a mutual may not resonate across the world. I was really interested to hear what Sarah said there about the different perceptions in Africa to Latin America. But then when we look at the young people, what they stand for and what their values are really does resonate with what it means to be a cooperative. So they stand for something more than just profit. They stand for a mission and a social purpose, being an ethical business who treat customers and employees fairly, having that inclusive and diverse cultures, socially responsible and a socially conscious business, having an impact in those local communities. Neil again touched on this idea about climate change. This is the issue that is top of mind at the moment, because we have COP26 going on in Glasgow, just around the corner from us in the UK. Inequality as well as climate change, and then also the other SDGs that are there to create a sustainable future. So that's all the sort of my message would be to other people around the world is be less humble about what you're doing and really promote what those values of being a member of a cooperative are, because it really will resonate with the next generation as both employees and also potential customers.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. So we have seen how the young leaders have also participated in and discussed some of the very relevant issues in the society, not only there or here, elsewhere, but all over the world. So and we really thank ICMIF for conducting such even roundtable discussions that we can participate in and interact also with the other members worldwide. And so lastly, I'm sorry I have to close this panel, but we can continue to throw in your questions sa chat box. So kung may mga tanong pa po kayo lingering on your mind that you want it to be answered right now by the panelists, please don't hesitate to type your questions in the chat box or send it to them privately. And we ask our panelists if you can just indulge your time and give some answers to the questions while you're still here. And we understand if you need to move to another meeting if we're running out of time, but we hope to be on time to the next part. So lastly, this is our last question, and this is a personal but very, very relevant question for everybody. And since Climbs is sponsoring this talk, we would like to ask our chairperson, Father Elmo Manching. Father Elmo, what can you say, how is Climbs really living out our cooperative values and principles? And I'd also ask Asik Vidan on the side of the regulator. Yes, Father Elmo, it's your turn.
Hello, Donna, and my brothers and sisters here. Straight from the heart. I think we are serious on this topic in Climbs, and from the nook, the small nook I came from Oxy, living out the principles of cooperativism. I think we are all solid in this, and I think the vibrant issues now that are, seen in the environment of Climbs, like the putting up of a college for the cooperative movement, is dream come true for every cooperator leader. I think, because I believe in what Ben, I think, was saying earlier, that we have to provide the scaffoldings for the next generation. We cannot do everything today. There has to be done in the future by the future generation. We laid down the foundations today, and laying down the foundations from the point of view of a director is to provide what we can provide today, like acquainting them as to the real issues on cooperativism. There is always wisdom in working together, in journeying together. I think the Pope now has a very powerful word for that, synodality, when we journey together in the same road. And ang kuyog, pagkuyog, we should be able to convey that to the next generation. And in my cooperative, and I hope I can also translate it in some other levels and dimensions to climbs, we have these two opposing energies that should push leaders and top management groups in my cooperative, the so-called tradition and the innovation. Looking back, if only to go forward. So we mix together what are the ideals of our founders, what are the traditions of the people before us. We would like to transport them into the terms of the new generation, to make it more relevant, to translate to them in their own language and in their own terms what probably these people in the past were thinking then. So that may be innovations in the process, what you call the process of innovation. And openness, I think, as leaders in cooperatives, should be part of the language in this game that we are talking about. So as a director of Climbs, I'm not alone, I think, in the believing that Climbs is towards a greener and a fresher environment for our co-op leaders. As much as possible, we do not only look on our figures and our money making, although it's a business. We have to accept that Climbs is an insurance business also, but we do not forget that we have a social obligation, that we have what they call cooperative, in corporations, they called it corporate, responsibility, In co-op, we use cooperative responsibility. We have to be mindful of that. And I think our President Noel can feel that in the language that the directors in Climbs are, arguing and discussing things, making policies that are in line and in tune with the future of the cooperative. And from a leader who is wanting also to help realize all this, I think we also have to shake elbows with some partners in the government, because if we stay isolated, then we cannot institutionalize what we are thinking now. So we have to, like, for example, why can't we appeal that CDA and DepEd come together to, further our causes on education in the context of cooperative? Can we ask DepEd to come up with a academic strand among the junior and the senior high, preparing them for this movement? Why? Because things are diversified, as our scientists and philosophers here are saying a while ago. We also have to adapt to the modern environment, to the present, to the contemporary situations. So I think we also have to shake elbows with people in DepEd. Can we probably, if they cannot do it for themselves, we can volunteer. I think that is the meaning now, and that is the position now of the Co-op College in the Philippines, to come up with a curriculum, for example, an outline of things that young people has to learn as a form of introduction to what may be called a cooperative milieu or environment. So I have talked a lot, I think, Donna. We have to have more discussions in the future in this in these issues that we are talking. I think we cannot discuss these things in just 1 to 2 hours. We have to reinvite again our guests and talk over this matter some more lengthy times. No? Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Father Elmo. So that's very good that you have also outlined the values and principles that you're actually doing, implementable plans. So we're already doing it now as well. So in response to the government, how about from the CDA, Asek Vidal, Father Chair mentioned about possible partnerships with other government institutions, agencies that can further our causes. So how do we live out our core values and principles in practical ways, Asek Vidal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ma'am Donna. As mentioned by Father Elmo, the education and advocacy cluster under the leadership of Assistant Secretary Sam Ginongla is already finalizing the memorandum of agreement between DepEd, CHED, and TESDA.
Right.
This is to integrate cooperativism in the curriculum of our, from the basic even to the higher education system of our republic. And let me also share with you, cooperativism is very important. It resolves a lot of issues, especially in the conflict areas in the country, where we ask cooperatives to organize these rebel groups into a cooperative, and thereby the government is giving assistance so that they will not be attracted back to the mountains or to fight against the government again. And to the future generation or the next generation of our country, of course, education is the very important ingredient in preparing our youth to appreciate the value of cooperativism. And because it is the only vehicle and the only way to transform the true meaning of sustainable economic development. This way, we can redirect the interests of our young generation from mere employment and to the value of entrepreneurship under the model of cooperativism. The next generation can be described as someone who thinks outside the box. So before that, I would also like to thank Climbs for having this kind of platform where we can share our ideas and our thoughts on the issues and concerns and how to improve the cooperative movement in the country. And we in the Cooperative Development Authority is here to support all the endeavors of Climbs, especially on your new venture into the establishment of Cooperative College of the Philippines. And I congratulate Climbs. We are so happy in the authority for that initiative coming from our Climbs. And we are here to support you in everything that we can do. Of course, we are also coming up with a memorandum circular so that you don't need to be registering with the Securities and Exchange Commission as we amend and we establish educational system under the Cooperative Development Authority, recognizing that we need really to upgrade and to review even all the memorandum circulars that we have in the authority. So thank you so much, Climbs, and mabuhay, and God bless everyone.
Wow, thank you very much, Asek Vidal. That's what a way to end the first part of this program. Very reassuring, and we're very happy to know that our partner in the government, our regulator, is really listening, hearing us. So talagang may puso pa at malasakit. At saka yung comment po ni Ma'am Marlene, our director, Ma'am Marlene Sendayan, I read that comment. That's true, no, that the the greatest legacy that we can pass on to the next generation is really to the values and the principles that were taught to us, how we lead, how we are good stewards right now. So because the next generation is looking up to us, emulating us, so we have to prepare for their future as well. And so that ends our first part. I hope you had a very wonderful time. Also to our listeners, our fellow cooperators here, please do keep engaged in the chat box. Let's think beyond the box of the Zoom room. So we move to the next part. I will just proceed just to give an information. You can, IC, you can help me out. You can pin now the the spotlight. Just a brief introduction of the partnership. So I have mentioned this in several avenues before, but maybe some of you are first timers here and what's going on with CLIMS, Institute of Management. Being part of CLIMS, it's the training arm of CLIMS that's used to be called as a CIFL, CLIMS Institute for Financial Literacy, that was born in 2011. So at the height of Sendong, that was the greatest typhoon that hit the southern part of the Philippines, especially CLIMS head office here in Cagayan de Oro, where we are located at. So that was a big typhoon, and the directors then were thinking, how can we address really risk management, the advent of climate change? So they were talking already way back about attending to climate action. What can we do as CLIMS as a cooperative? So they set up our leaders then, and who are also, some are also here still with us in the board. They have guided us, the management team, that we'll be setting up something that will really be a vehicle for education for CLIMS to continue to promote not only the cooperative principle on education, training, and information, but also as a support of the business of CLIMS, which is the insurance business, which is for social protection, for protecting the grassroots population of the Philippines. So that is how it came about, and then it evolved eventually into CIM, so the CLIMS Institute of Management. This was already casted as a vision by our former leaders and also our directors in CLIMS, that it will be evolving not only for dealing for financial literacy, but also capacitating, upskilling our directors, leaders, and managers, and especially the next generation leaders, and how they're able to make cooperatives really sustainable and attentive, addressing the needs for the present and also preparing us all for the future. So in 2019, we invited of our brief presentation during the Global Congress at the ICA. We had initial talks with the Cooperative College of UK, and eventually they came in to the Philippines in 2019. So that was our first engagement with them to hold the Global Executive Masterclass. So that was a face-to-face masterclass. That was the first time. And then in 2020, we continued on with our partnership talks, and we conducted several master classes. Some of you are participants here as well, and also youth social hackathons. We have partnered with them, and we enriched this partnership through the signing of an MOU of the sister school of CLIMS and Cooperative College of UK. So today we are going to witness another milestone of CLIMS, and we'll just show it in video so you can appreciate it as well. This is we're going to unveil the logo of the CLIMS Philippines, our what you call this, our gift to the cooperative movement to the world. We're going to have a partnership with Cooperative College UK and also with the Cooperative Heritage Trust UK. And there is a portion there in the Rochdale Pioneers Museum, a portion of Philippines. So we will be represented there through CLIMS. So can we show the video now? IC and JBR?
What you are seeing on your screens is a Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative memento situated in the Cooperative Heritage Trust in Manchester, England. The design of the memento has the following depictions. First off, the yellow letter C surrounding the image. The logo of Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative, the grassroots cooperative founded by Attorney Mordino Cua and Attorney Aquilino Aquio Pimentel Sr. back in the 70s in Cagayan de Oro City, Philippines. Next up, the eagle on the right side. It is the Philippines' national bird, the Philippine eagle, or famously known as a monkey-eating eagle. It is the largest eagle in the world, and it symbolizes the Filipinos' bravery and strength. The air just below the eagle, artistic reference for both hanging amihan and hanging habagat, the former being the cool northeast wind and the latter being the west or southwest wind. The amihan weather is characterized by moderate temperatures with little or no rainfall. The weather pattern begins sometime in November or December and ends sometime in May or June. The habagat weather is characterized by hot and humid weather. With frequent heavy rainfall. As a tropic country, the Philippines is at the mercy of Mother Nature. It experiences multiple typhoons in a year, affecting the most vulnerable grassroots population. To uphold the value of social protection, Climbs is constantly developing sustainable and reliable means to be responsive to whatever emergency situation. In Philippine mythology, amihan was believed to be a bird and the first creature to inhabit the universe, along with the gods called Bakala and Aman Sinaya. In the legend, amihan is described as a bird that saves the first human beings who are malakas and maganda from a bamboo plant. Next up, the sun on the left side. In Philippine symbolism, it represents freedom, unity, democracy, and sovereignty. It is also found on the Philippine flag, having 8 rays, each representing the first 8 provinces that revolted against the 333-year reign of Spain in the country. The Philippine flag just beside the sun have the following colors. The blue color stands for peace, justice, sacrifice, and truth. The red color symbolizes bravery, courage, and patriotism. The white triangle represents fraternity, liberty, and equality. The 3 stars represents the Philippines' 3 major islands, namely Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. For the sun, of course, we've already discussed that. And so, for the forefront and the highlight are the people who are working together and carrying a bahay kubo, or a nipahat, a type of stilt house indigenous to the cultures of the Philippines. They're transferring it from one place to another. In Filipino tradition, this is commonly known as the practice of bayanihan. The word bayanihan, however, does not have a direct and accurate translation to the English language, although it can be roughly translated to mean either cooperation or cooperative endeavor. Thus, the cooperative identity and the cooperative movement have been ingrained in Filipino culture for thousands of years. It is only fitting that Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative would be the epitome of both in the Philippines.
The cooperative education is 102 years old to date. We are just bringing back the Philippines in the cradle of the cooperative movement. And now, may we call on Mr. Noel Raboy, the President and CEO of Climbs, and to be followed by Mr. Neil Calver, the Principal and CEO of Cooperative College, to give their message.
Thank you, IC. This momentous event that we are very happy that the Cooperative College of the UK, together with the heritage of the where the cooperative started and the invention of the cooperative spread that includes here in the Philippines. And with this having a corner, a Philippine corner, it's already a prestige, and at the same time, in the Philippines, that we're able to bring the cooperative movement there. And we just hope with this partnership, we can align also the courses, the education patterned internationally by our sister school. Thank you very much for bringing us and accepting us, the Philippine cooperative movement in the Philippines. In behalf of our board of directors headed by Father Elmo Manching, we are very grateful and thankful for this opportunity. Again, thank you. I see.
Thank you, Sir Noel. May we call on Mr. Neil Calver to give us a message?
Thank you, and thank you again for the kind invitation to join you today. It's been a real privilege to be part of the event and also to be part of this new partnership. And I'll let you into a secret. I think in the during this event today, the most participants we've had at any one point, I think, was 177. And I'll share with you that I am probably, of those people, the one with least experience in the cooperative movement. As you've heard, I'm very new and I joined the college in July of this year, but I would reassure you that while I am a young and a new cooperator, I'm an old, sometimes feel like a very old educator. And having joined the college, it was really clear from day one that the college and the wider cooperative movement was a perfect fit for my own values. So it's been a really exciting opportunity for me to take on the leadership of the Cooperative College UK in an organisation, as you know, with such a rich history in the movement, but also one taking big decisions about our future as well. And we've spent time, I've spent time this week with my senior team, including my colleague Sarah, who's on the call today, asking questions about what is a cooperative college in 2021. And the answer is, well, we're not sure yet. We're not even sure there is one answer. Principle 5 makes it clear of the need for education, but what exactly does that mean in 2021? Well, what we're clear on is that while it's really important to consider what we learn, and as we've heard from participants earlier today, a huge part of that is to empower and inspire young people to join and then to lead and really take a grip of the movement in the future. But as well as that, we think it's just as important to consider how we learn. Learning's a two-way, interactive, values-based discipline. And doing cooperative learning properly means living the values and principles through the learning experience. So we're delighted to be part of this new partnership. And what I can assure you is we bring extensive experience in the wider cooperative movement, in modern learning, teaching and pedagogy, and also in quality assurance. And all of that expertise is yours, and we're willing to share that with you and to give you as much support as we can in this new and exciting development. But the deal is that this partnership needs to be a two-way one. And while we've expertise to share with you, we very much want this in the cooperative spirit to be a mutual partnership, you know, a voluntary coming together and uniting in common aims. So while all of our expertise is yours to use as you wish, I would ask that we make sure on both sides that this becomes a partnership that benefits us both. So thank you so much for your efforts to grow cooperative education at a time when it's never been more important, and we look forward to a healthy and fruitful partnership with you long into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. And to proceed, may I call on Ms. Liz MacIvor, the manager of the Cooperative Heritage Trust Museum, to give us a message. And I think she prepared something also to show us.
Thank you, Icy, and thank you to everybody. It's been a really interesting session. I'm delighted to have been able to join you from Rochdale Pioneers Museum, from the original store where the Rochdale Pioneers opened in 1844. It's a small, very basic room, and the museum itself is very small and humble. But what we do today is about sharing that identity, it's about being part of deepening that identity. I think Father Elmo's words were particularly interesting. He talked about looking back in order to move forward. And that's what we try to help people to do. And we're delighted that Climbs can be part of that story. What we really want to be able to do is talk to our visitors and our users about how that movement has spread from a very small place, a small town in Rochdale, out into the wider world to become that global movement that we are trying to help develop and engage with younger audiences. I do have some images to share with you. I'm going to be very quick because I know that we don't have a huge amount of time. So this is us. We're in Toad Lane in Rochdale. As you can see, all that's left of the original Toad Lane is our museum. The Rochdale Pioneers Museum, which the Cooperative Heritage Trust was formed to look after. And this is the earliest image we have of the building, and of course the image that you've already seen of us today, of how we look now. And this is where we are in Rochdale. This map is from 1844, and the red circle on the map shows you where we are, right in the heart of a growing industrial town. This is a bird's eye view of the building that I'm talking to you from, looking down on the roof, and it just shows you how much that space where our museum building is has changed over the years. And of course we remain, and the cooperative movement has changed as well. So we've had a lot of change, a lot of different industries come and go. Rochdale's position in that has changed an enormous amount. But why did we start that cooperative here? It was because of poverty, expensive food, terrible conditions, and basically that was the kickstarter for grassroots action, the things that we've been talking about today. This is the kind of working and living environment that people in this town would have faced. Very poor conditions, very poor housing, no clean drinking water, the kinds of things you associate with what cooperative development does in other parts of the world. But it starts here. It's the response to crisis. And the Rochdale Pioneers, somebody had said earlier that they're older white men, but of course they started their movement as young people, people desperate to make a change, and people who had a radical agenda. Not so much about making an enormous profit for themselves, but about making profit and change for future generations. And that's what they did. They started to grow that small cooperative. Lots of other societies opened their doors, and some of them federated together to make big businesses that absolutely did make a profit. And this is the kind of establishment that was really key in central Manchester in the early 20th century, picture on the left-hand side. And it's from that huge growth, that's the argument about what you do with that profit, or how you make it work for the people. And this is what brings us to the commitment to us all being cooperative, being able to admit everybody, give everyone a stake in their cooperative, make sure that they have education as part of that and independence, but that we work together. And this is what we continue to do. We want to still work with and connect with cooperatives around the world to share that history, that heritage. And I thought this image was interesting because it mentions in the poster the cholera epidemic, which was really serious in the 1840s. This was part of what the original cooperative was meant to do, to provide things like clean drinking water, to prevent the worst impacts of pandemics like cholera. We have lots of specialist collections that we look after in our archive in Manchester. And this is currently where they're stored and conserved at Holyoke House, the home of the UK Cooperative College. And it's very fitting, of course, that education is deeply ingrained in what we do today. But it means we have to talk to new people. It's no good just to talk to the people who've been in the movement all their lives. We need to develop a new audience. And for us, that means younger people being engaged with what we do and telling other people about it in their own words, making this movement work for them. The ICA, of course, was formed in 1895. This is an image from our archive of one of the meetings, one of the congresses that was held in the UK in the 1960s. You can see that people from different countries have their signs, and there's a panel on the stage. And of course, today's panel is virtual. Today's discussion has been happening live over Zoom, something that in the 1960s would have been inconceivable. But that's how we get progress. It's change for the future. These are what some of our collections represent. The rules of the ICA, for example, these are things that we hold together, and really what's allowed the ICA to deepen its cooperative identity. So I'm going to wrap that up and go straight to unveiling the plaque that the Climbs organisation have given us to display in Rochdale Pioneers Museum in the original shop. And to do that, I'm going to have to move the screen around. We do have a literal unveiling. And if you're ready, I will take this off the wall. This is something that we now want to be able to share with our visitors, that Climbs is an active part of our movement and that the history is one that's shared by everyone. And it's hopefully going to be around for another 175 years. We look forward, of course, to welcoming people from the Philippines and from all over the world to join us virtually, as well as in person when they're able to do that safely. If you have any questions, I'd be very happy to take them.
Wow, thank you, Liz. I think everyone's amazed.
It's hair raising. It's hair raising to see the origin of co-ops. It's really hair raising. Oh boy. Thank you. And thank you, Liz. Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you very much. And thank you to Climbs for their support of our organisation to keep that heritage going. It's really important to us that we have that connection with you and that we keep it going.
1 minute for me, IC. Thank you very much, Lisa and Rochdale Pioneers, Rochdale Museum Trust. And this is also why it is important to us, because it is where our inspiration that we will move forward as we bring the banner of the values and principles of cooperatives. This is a renewal with us. So we are also offering this one to our cooperative movement in the Philippines. Join us and let's go there and renew our vows, our principles and values in the cooperative movement. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Noel. It's really important to us because we have to keep doing this. Throughout our history, the cooperative movement in the UK and overseas has continued to ask the question, how can it mean something for the future? How can we make this identity that started here with poor people, ordinary people, young people, how do we make that, recommit to that and make it useful for the modern world, for modern people? How do we do it in a way that attracts new audience, new members and benefits them? And I think we can do it. I think that recommitting to those values and understanding that that part will never change, that's what makes us stronger as a global movement. So thank you.
Again, thank you, Liz. We were really speechless during the unveiling, but thank you for sharing this experience with us. And just as trivia, everyone, Liz is the presenter of the British Broadcasting Corporation BBC series Canals, The Making of a Nation. And she is also a historian by passion. Her inspiration to work in the heritage preservation sparked at a very young age when she saw the Lindo Man at the Manchester Museum. Again, thank you, Liz.
That's right. I wanted to show you something before I leave, and it's an object that we have in our collection from the original building. And it's a slate. It's something that people would write on as they were learning to read and write. It's part of the education, the classes that happened in this building. It's very old, and it's very damaged. It's over 150 years old, but it's the kind of thing that is the connection with education, particularly as you open your new cooperative college. This is the sort of thing it starts with, but of course the digital interaction that we have today is how it carries on. So I think that is still a really important symbol, Principle 5, as part of our movement. So from the old objects to the new technology, thank you very much for inviting us to be a part of your talks today.
All right.
And those who want to, I see,
Yes,
we have a special program in NAFI Cooperative. Hope that co-ops will join us there because we are preparing also our masterclass program. So we are inviting cooperatives to join the NAFI Cooperative because this is where we can set up programs going there in the masterclass of in partnership with Cooperative UK and also going there in Rochdale.
Yes, join us in the NAFE. And I think my take also to this is that to appreciate the present is always have the chance to look back on where we came from. So to close, may I call on to formally close the program. We are at the end part once again. May we call on our board of director of Climbs, and she is also the board of director of Perpetual Health Multipurpose Cooperative, or the PHCCI Tacloban, Ms. Sarah Agner.
Oh, thank you, Icy. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Our distinguished and esteemed panelists and speakers, Yusek Joseph Encabo, Asik Vidal Villanueva III, Father Elmo Manching, Climb CEO Mr. Noel Reboy, our guest panelists and speakers from ICA, Mr. Balasubramania Iyer, from ICMEF in UK, Mr. Ben Tolfer, from the Cooperative College in UK, Dr. Sarah Aldred and Mr. Neil Calvert, from the Cooperative Heritage Trust in UK, Ms. Elizabeth Enzibor, from the Co-op Party List President, Alexander Akipo, and Mr. Lloyd Madriaga. Climb's Board of Directors and Officers, staff and management of CIM, co-op leaders, and all attendees of this Cooperative Talk 2021, fellow cooperators, a pleasant day to all. It is with great pride and honor to deliver a message for this momentous event, an occasion to show that cooperatives play a very vital role in the economic development of the people and of the country as a whole. The theme of this forum, a strong cooperative, is responsive to challenges, a road to development, and gives hope in modern age. Will make us realize if our respective cooperative is really a strong cooperative. Maybe we could ask this among ourselves. Is my co-op responsive to challenges, providing roads to development for its members, and gives hope as well, particularly during this pandemic time? Well, of course, we knew the answer of this question. We can evaluate it among ourselves how our co-op helped us during these challenging times. Listening from our speakers with their respective shared brilliant ideas and overviews, it can be capsulized how we as cooperators perceive the role of cooperative in our lives, guided with its values and principles, most especially during challenging and trying times. So in behalf of the Board of Directors of CLIMS, I would like to commend the management of CLIMS and CIM, headed by its energetic CEO, Noel Raboy, for this timely activity in celebration of the country's Cooperative Month, celebration of the country's Cooperative Month. This is a form of communicating to the stakeholders in the cooperative movement. It is important that we as cooperators continue to communicate among ourselves and to the community in order to share relevant ideas and information that may be appealing to the senses of the entire cooperative movement, thus acknowledging our responsibilities and identities in this movement. Finally, on behalf of the CLIMS Management, Board of Directors, and Officers, may I express my heartfelt thanks to all of you, panelists and speakers, for sharing us your time and brilliant ideas in today's event. You are such precious gems to the cooperative movement. And of course, thank you so much to everyone who participated, thus made this activity a sound success. Mabuhay ang CLIMS, mabuhay ang kooperatiba, mabuhay ang cooperative movement. Good day to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you still to the presence of our Board of Directors and Officers, member owners, and CLIMS family that really stayed on until this hour. So we hope you enjoy the rest of the night and have a good day to our international partners and guests who joined us. So thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.